14 found guilty in the 2015 Charlie Hebdo attacks trial. Yeah, Rivka's going, yeah! So, a Parisian court, obviously in France, has found 14 people guilty of involvement in a series of deadly Islamist attacks in 2015 that left 17 people dead. 11 defendants appeared in court for the verdict on Wednesday, December 16th, and the remaining 3 were tried in absentia. All 14 accomplices were found guilty of a variety of charges, from belonging to a criminal terrorist, that is coded word we use for people who do attacks, a criminal terrorist network, to direct complicity in the attacks on the Charlie Hebdo offices and a Jewish supermarket. The accomplices were accused of obtaining weapons or providing logistical support. They had denied all those charges. No, they had all denied those charges. One of the female accomplices had fled to Syria a week before the attack, and it is unknown whether or not she is still alive. So the 3 people who were tried in absentia who did not appear in court, those 3 individuals, it is because we don't know if they're alive, basically. They've fled to foreign territory. They could not be located for trial. And sources can't confirm if they're even still alive or not. That one woman I mentioned, people think she might have been taken out in an airstrike on accident. Well, maybe not on accident, but included in an airstrike. But yes, this is all very good news. For those who don't know, these are only accomplices in the attack, right? The people who actually carried out the attack were killed during the attack and during police intervention in the attack. So obviously they were not tried themselves. But yes, this is 5 years later. Trial finally happened and everyone was found guilty.
Okay, so this is good and all. Just be careful. Just because we're on one side of this discussion, don't just be critical of any method of any unfair practices. Again, the French government's court system is way superior to most of the countries that we cover here. So we know.
Yep.
So we know it's going to be much better, but that doesn't mean that just because it's much better that we shouldn't have high standards. Like our standards shouldn't be these countries that we cover most of the time, right? So just because it's like we consider this to be good news, that doesn't mean there's not going to be some unfair practices, some things, sometimes somebody not being able to defend themselves as they should, somebody not get unfair treatments. Like even though I don't think it's going to happen, that doesn't mean that we should just dogmatically trust that trust the secular government and just not have a watchful eye, right? We could be optimistic and be hopeful about the superior processes that a government like French government has, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that we should be blind to it and not pay attention, because that's how you lose these standards, right? If we let people just keep trusting the governments that they like and don't pay attention to, don't act like watchdogs, then these standards might slowly go away, okay? I do have some other opinions as well, but Rivka, Susanna, you want to add something before? No? Okay. So I do want to highlight some of the comments here. Veronica saying, throw them in prison, deport their families, raise their mosque. Okay, this is like maybe just...
Oh my gosh, what are you, a fascist?
Wow, yeah, like the first one, yeah. I mean, if they're proven guilty, yes, throw them in prison.
And they were in the court of law.
Yes, what the rest of it is like crazy. Deport their families. What did their families do? Like, this is like guilt by association or collective punishing. Raise their... What? This guy, Veronica, you scare me. And she got only likes. That's horrible.
Insane.
This one is saying, as long as Islam terrorizes the world, we have the right to draw cartoons. I don't agree with this. We have the right to draw cartoons even if there is no Islam terrorizing the world, like we always have a right to draw a curtain. What is that? What is its condition?
Wait, there are a couple comments that I want to highlight.
Okay.
ARN is saying if the Charlie Hebdo killers should be executed, and I'm normally against the death penalty, but not in such extreme cases, then you are not against the death penalty. Also, I misspoke earlier. Technically, you could argue that they were executed because the attack was carried out on the 7th. The suspects were shot by the police while they were under siege on the 9th, okay? So if that's what you wanted, their death, you got it, okay? Not through due process, but you got. But if there is a but, you are not against the death penalty. Oh my god.
Okay, this is such a dumb comment by ARN because you don't understand. Like the Enlightenment standards that we defend them specifically for situations like this, right? This is like exactly the same this is the dumb line of reasoning that people use when they say, oh, I defend freedom of speech, but, and they have an exception in this situation, then you don't defend freedom of speech. If you defend, for example, the freedom of speech of the speech that you like, then you don't even need laws that defend freedom of speech, right? You defend freedom of speech. Your defense of your values are tested when you defend the speech that you hate the most. Exactly. Your values are tested when you defend the speech that you hate the most. And now coming back to this, when it comes to human rights, when it comes to due process, when it comes to being against the death penalty, okay, if your values are tested when it's the time for it to be applied for the people that you hate the most or the people you dislike the most. First of all, these people, what is it about them that all of a sudden makes them extreme compared to other murder? Like, because they committed murder. So if this is extreme, then you think every act of murder, because their murder is not more extreme than other acts of murder. So how is it more extreme? So every act of murder,
it's because it's ideologically based, because it's trying to, inflict terror on people who want to exercise their free expression.
Then every act of terror should be so you're just arguing for death penalty for every act of murder. Congratulations, you're for you're pro death penalty, right? But again, guys, free speech is only free speech if it protects the worst kind of speech. Human rights is only human rights if it protects the worst humans. If otherwise, you're saying human rights for the humans that I like, free speech for the speech that I like. So you're not for free speech and you're not for human rights. You're not on the side of enlightenment. You're anti-modernity.
I disagree. It is not dumb to want death for killers. And another terrible argument from Armin, wanting killers to be executed is not anti-enlightenment.
It is by definition of enlightenment values. You have no idea what you're talking about.
And also, it doesn't work. It's not rationally based. Okay, there are so many different enlightenment argues against the death penalty. If it was proved to have utility that actually worked, you could go with this. But it doesn't serve its utility. It does not.
This is so. My God, ARN calls me dumb, and he has the dumbest takes. Look at this. The Charlie Hebdo killers have voluntarily given up their rights to be treated humanely. You have no idea how rights. ARN, you have no idea how rights work. You are insane and you are so ignorant, and you go around calling other people dumb. It's like, oh, so if I rob a bank, then I shouldn't have a day in court because I should give up my right? No, rights, due process, right to a hearing, having a court date, getting a lawyer to defend you, and then getting a death sentence, getting a sentence like prison sentence accordingly. These are the rights that we determine for criminals. Okay, we have decided, yes, you're a criminal, and these are your rights as a criminal. Just because you're a criminal and because you're a garbage human being, that doesn't mean your rights go out of the way. There are certain rights for people that haven't committed crimes, and we have defined what are the rights for people who have committed crimes. It doesn't mean that rights, like you don't understand how laws work. You don't understand what enlightenment values are about. You don't understand how none of this works like this. And you go around and calling other people dumb. Rivka, you want to say something?
Really quick, Aaron is saying death penalty has utility. You
No.
didn't listen to me. I said it was could be argued that it has utility. Data does not show that it serves its utility.
Rivka wants
Rivka.
So I wanted to say a couple things. So I think one can agree or believe for whatever reason that killers maybe deserve death, but that's different than saying the state should put people to death. Okay? Honestly, it's true. It is different. You could feel this emotionally, but be separated from how you want that codified into law. Rights that are given to people that Armin was talking about, those are also, even before they've become, they're only criminals if they're found guilty and been charged, gone through due process and found guilty. Though a lot of those rights that are there are to make sure that people aren't charged arbitrarily, that they have the opportunity to answer the charges against them, that they are given a defense. All of this is what has made the rule of law the gold standard throughout the world. This is why we do these things, so that we can have this due process, so that we can say, yes, we've gone through all these steps and this person has we've shown through this yes, of course there's mistakes, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the process itself and why it exists. And then also, I'm not sure that anyone gives up their rights to be treated humanely, because it's not about them. It's about society makes a decision as to what they value and what they think are important. And one of the things would be not torturing people, or ensuring that everyone gets due process. Those are part of Enlightenment values, because that's part of democratic rule of law. And again, I'm going to say it again. That means you're a nation of laws, not of men. A man or a woman or a person could want vengeance, or want someone to die, or feels, maybe most of the time I didn't believe about the death penalty, but this affected me personally. So now I have maybe even a hypocritical view because I'm emotionally based. But those are human beings. The law has to be above that, so that every person who's charged with a crime is treated equally before the law.
Okay, so look at this. Look how dumb these comments are. Who said anything about not having due process or a court? Wasn't this the same person that just said earlier that they have like given up their rights?
Given their rights to be treated humanely, and I think that there's parsing of words that ARN is trying to do, or some semantic stuff.
They're contradicting themselves.
No, he's contradicting himself. He said like he specifically said the Charlie Hebdo killers have voluntarily given up their rights to be treated humanely. This is how you treat people humanely, by giving them due process and a day in court. You're contradicting your own points, and you're going around and calling people dumb. This is the people that go. This is how hypocritical these people are. They are so ignorant, and they don't see their own ignorance. And then you go point fingers and call other people, say, like, "Oh, you have a dumb take." They have the dumbest takes, and they go point fingers at other people. But anyways, you want to say something?
Back to the topic at hand. So I think what Armin brought up in the beginning is really important, about like, just because this is very cathartic to a lot of people, to have these people found guilty. There's some analysis in this article that I think is very good and speaks to what Armin mentioned at the top of the segment. So this is some analysis by Hugh Schofield, who's the Paris correspondent for the BBC. These proceedings, weeks of exhaustive examination of evidence has left too many questions unanswered. All those charged were allegedly involved in networks that led up to Ahmadi Chaubali, the supermarket attacker. So for those unfamiliar, there was an attack on a Jewish supermarket, and then the Charlie Hebdo offices. But what, actually, as well as the Charlie Hebdo offices. But what of the brothers Saeed and Sharif Kochachi? the Charlie Hebdo gunmen? How did they get their weapons? What is the role of the far-right militant Claude Armin, who has been tried separately but on non-terrorist charges, or of the 3 absentees who fled to Syria just before the attacks? And who from Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State group actually ordered the attacks, if anyone? Those on trial came across as petty criminals. They either knew nothing or were well practiced in the art of obfuscation. All said they were completely unaware of Chowbali's jihadist intentions, and the prosecution found it hard to prove otherwise. Cathartic the trial may have been, especially for those who still suffer from the memory of these events, the fact remains that not too much light has been shed. So I thought that was really good analysis from you.
And also subscribe to our newsletter, because if we get removed from all these platforms, at least we could reach out to you. And guys, by the way, if you subscribe to our newsletter, you get a free copy of Why There's No... Where's your copy, Susanna? Get it. We're doing promotion. You get a free... It's not even promotion, it's free. Okay, so if you subscribe to our newsletter, link in the description, you get a free copy of Why There's No God. Come on, like, I'm handing it out for free. Okay, it's a bestseller on Amazon, and you get it for free. So subscribe to our newsletter, and you get a free copy of Why There's No God sent to you. Link in the description.